Every real estate agent is looking online and finding coaches that are telling you that you need to develop a personal brand first thing, post more videos, create more content, and start a podcast. And you know they're asking you to spend hours creating a bunch of content that probably no one's really going to watch to begin with. So really the better question to ask is, what do you want your personal brand to do for you? And so in today's video, we're going to talk about personal brand from an agent perspective. I've been in the business 12 years now, and how we built our personal brand to really kind of a mega team. One of the top teams at our company for EXP, and as well as, number one in our area as far as teams and size and agent productivity and those things. We'll talk a little bit about it. But today's video, I was listening to Caleb Ralston. If you haven't looked him up, he's an awesome content creator, and he's built personal brands for like Gary Vee and whatnot. But he talks a lot about this and building a personal brand. In fact, he's got a 5-hour course that you should check out. And, that was really the inspiration for this video today. And so I'm going to talk through some of the points that he covers about personal brand, just more of the initial stuff, because if you're in a college town and you're an agent coming out of college, you may be struggling with, okay, maybe I've never sold a home. What do I want my personal brand to be? And you end up finding some, copy and paste content that may come from a source online that you just pay a few bucks for, that helps you get started. And it's not a bad thing. Trust me, content's not a bad thing. And I'm not here to demonize it, but really talking about, a personal brand, it's not the same as being popular. And this is kind of the first talking point here. So a personal brand is a reputation people associate with you when you aren't in the room. That's very, very important, is how are you talked about outside of the room? If you leave, what impact did you leave in the room? So you can have a large audience, but very little trust with that audience. In other words, you could put out a ton of content, but no one really knows what value do you bring to the table? And is he just another real estate agent? Or you could have a small audience that produces consistent business. Like, for example, my YouTube channel, Living in Auburn, Alabama, I started that about 5 years ago, and it's been a journey, and it's been off and on, and you can releasing content, but it's been something that's been super hyper focused on people relocating to town. And it's done a great job as a driver. Last week alone, we talked to 3 buyers and sellers that actually fit my ideal avatar. So, or you can have a strong local reputation without being widely known online. And we'll talk a little bit more about that as we go into the video. Or you could have a recognizable name that isn't connected to any particular expertise. That's the last thing you want to do, is just be known as the general agent. It's not a bad thing to begin with, because you're just trying to build business. You're trying to do business with whoever you can. You're like, whoever wants to buy and sell in the next 60 days, I just want to work with you. And it's fine to ask for business, but there's definitely a strategic way when it comes to building content around that, because you don't just want to build content for content's sake, just to say you did it because you saw somebody else online that has really good results from the content. You're like, I'm just going to copy what they do. Well, you're going to have you're going to have a lot of success. You're going to see the success bias, because you see all of the good that they did, but you didn't see any of the bad videos that they shot that maybe have produced, 300 views versus the ones that are the outliers that produced 5,000 views, that they then said, hey, that content really connected with my ideal audience. And we laid into that. So, viewers, followers, impressions, they can help, but they are not the outcome. An agent with 500 relevant local followers could produce more valuable brand than an agent with 50,000 followers that may be known for doing something crazy online. Maybe they hit like a viral trend or whatever, but it doesn't translate into business. And so really the goal is for everybody to know your name, and it's for the right people to know what your name means. So that's really important when it comes to a personal brand, and it's not so much trying to be popular, but trying to be intentional about it. Next, you need to decide what you want before deciding what to post. And different goals, they require different audiences and content. Like, you may not be the agent that sold thousands of homes in your local area. You could be the brand new agent that's just like, man, I'm just trying to figure out, did I write a contract right? Did I show the house correctly? Why did this person ghost me? There could be a many things. So, you could be an agent that wants to generate buyers and sellers, and that's great. You could become the local expert for a specific city, which is very, very good to hammer into. You could, you could be building a listing-based business if you want to go after listings. Maybe you're starting to call for sell by owners expired. Maybe you want to recruit, maybe you want to attract investors. Maybe you want to recruit agents to a team or brokerage. If you're a team leader watching this video, you may find this content valuable when it comes to, really trying to build out your team and grow bigger, because maybe you are a super successful agent in your own right. Maybe you want to create speaking and coaching and consulting opportunities. Maybe you want to establish credibility in a particular property niche. Maybe it's you want to focus on condos because maybe you lived in condos for the past 4 years, and that's what you know about living in a complex. And maybe you just work the front desk for the property management company, helping people get signed up on leases. But if you don't choose the outcome, your content becomes a random collection of closings and motivational quotes and listing videos and market updates and family pictures, and no one really knows what your name stands for. So none of those things, they're not inherently bad, but the problem is that they may not add up to clear reputation for what you're trying to create. So you need to ask, if this works perfectly, what opportunity do I want my content to create? So you want it to dive into and thinking about that ideal client. So on that topic, you want to identify the specific person you need to influence. And I've got a lot to say about this topic, because for forever, I was just like, man, I just want to work with buyers and sellers. I do not care where they come from. Anybody, everybody, give me open houses. Let's do our thing. And there is a huge opportunity with open houses, especially being a new agent. But once you know the outcome, you need to determine who has to trust you, who has to trust you for it to happen. Maybe your goal is relocation business. In your business, your audience may be families researching condos in the area. Maybe they're researching your city versus another city. Maybe you want listings, and your audience may be homeowners who are nervous about pricing or time or preparation or choosing the right agent. Those are some big pieces. Now, I will say, going after listings, it's kind of the same thing as paying for advertising online. You're going to pay more for a listing lead, and you're going to need more content to get listings in your area, especially when it comes through content marketing. If you're trying to go on like Instagram or TikTok or YouTube like this, I will say going the buyer route tends to have a lot more leverage when it comes to the content, because you're more likely to find more people exploring the idea of moving to the area versus, you really hammer Google searches when people are talking about selling their home, and really their first instinct is like, well, what is my home even worth before I even contact an agent, right? Maybe you want to recruit agents. Your audience may be productive agents who feel unsupported by their broker. Maybe there's someone who needs structure and needs development. Are you that go-to team leader that is known for that in your area? Maybe you want investor business, and you need evidence that you understand the rents, the returns, the zoning, the management, the risk involved, not just knowing pretty houses and doing housing tours. Maybe you need to be super deep on your content, on your reels or whatever you're creating, your email newsletter, anything like that. Is like, what is that niche? What questions do they have? What are their pain points? And how do I answer them? What kind of content do I want to make? And you need to start with, whose trust do I need to earn, and what are they worried about? So let me go back to my Living in Auburn, Alabama channel. So this started this is like a pet project during COVID. And I was very curious how to make YouTube work, because I couldn't do a lot of things. Like, we quit doing open houses and stuff. So I was like, okay, how do I get introduced to buyers? And I found this really cool course through Channel Junkies. You can check them out. If you want to learn how to run a YouTube channel, Channel Junkies for anybody getting into real estate. And I don't gatekeep anything. That's where I learned it. You can learn everything that they teach in their boot camp through their videos, but you're going to spend hours and hours and hours learning it. And I did that because I am a education junkie. I will go on runs and just learn education forever. But what I learned going through that, and reading also Karen Carr's book about, because she's another person who started her business with YouTube content and creating relevant content for buyers. So let me give you my example of my intentions with my YouTube channel and who my ideal avatar is. And I can spit this out every day, because these are the people that I found in a book. I probably have it somewhere around my desk here. But I had to name these people and everything. So my thought process is that I'm mid 30s. I'm actually late 30s now. But at that time, I was like, I want to talk to me. I want to talk to a mid 30-year-old couple. They're from Denver. I'm just going to say it. They're from Denver, and the husband has a great job. The wife maybe works or is a stay-at-home mom, and they have 2 kids. Very important. It's family oriented on the questions. So husband comes home from work, does his thing, puts down his stuff, plays with his kids. They have dinner. They talk about their day. They put the kids to bed. And then the next thing they do is the couple typically gets ready for bed. They hop in bed. They pull up their phones or their iPads or their computers. Maybe they do a little bit of work. They turn on something. But the first thing that comes out of the husband's mouth is, honey, I got a job opportunity today. Like, it's a phenomenal job. I'm going to get a raise. It's really great. It's an internal position, and I got offered first, and I really want to take it. And she goes, that's awesome. And she could tell there might be some hesitation in his voice. And he says, well, the hard part about it is that it's going to cause us to relocate for me to take this opportunity. And she goes, oh, okay. Where is it? And he goes, it's in Auburn, Alabama. And the wife looks at him and goes, wow, that's amazing, honey. Where the hell is Auburn, Alabama? And first question, right? And then he goes, well, it's obviously Alabama. It's in the Southeast. She's like, oh my gosh. So what all would it entail? And what are we going to do? And like, if we relocate, what does that timing look like? What's the weather down there? Is it, if you take the job, is it a pay raise and then we have to move to an area that's more expensive, or is it more cost effective? What are these questions? Like, why would I want to move to Alabama? Why wouldn't we take this job and move to Alabama? Oh my gosh, what are the schools going to be like? Our kids have got to go to school. What are the school districts like? And so go on and on and on. And I know I've kind of trailed off on this conversation, but it's important for you to hear this story, because this is about building your ideal client, because I wanted my personal brand to be known on the YouTube channel to help people relocate or moving to and want to know what it's like in Alabama. SEO style creation for everything. And going through the Channel Junkies Bootcamp taught me a lot about that, and how to create the channel, how to set it up, how to optimize your channel, how to build your videos out, the call to actions, everything you need to know about building that video and on that. And so I started writing down these questions. One of the best things you can do is use things like ChatGPT or Google or Gemini or any other resource, and start looking at what questions people are asking. Start looking at the Google searches and scroll down and see what other relevant questions are there, and start answering those questions. Then go to YouTube, go find other towns. What's it like to move here? What is it like to live here? What are the pros and cons here? One of the hottest videos. And maybe I want to tour homes, resource for that. And you may find that no one does it in your area. It's a great niche to get into. And does it produce results immediately? Possibly. For us, it took easily 6 months for me to get my first lead doing it. But over the years, that effort has compounded into an amazing business of a lot of repeat clients and great buyers. What we find is that YouTube buyers are typically higher grade buyers, higher price point buyers naturally compared to our other ones, because they're people that are taking the time, that want to do their research, that want to get it right. Maybe they're not a first-time home buyer. And so I answer all these questions on my Living in Auburn, Alabama page. And that was so important to me to create that. I even drew a picture of them in answering those questions. And then I went into, okay, once I built out the content ideas, then I stepped into determining what that video, like, what does it need to look like? And Channel Junkies taught me how to do that outline of a video and create them. And it's kind of morphed over the years and how that content comes out. But for the most part, it all stays the same. So I just wanted you guys to hear a little bit about, like, I'm not someone who's just going to read talking points from some other creator on YouTube. I want to give you a real life example of identifying the specific person as I wanted from my audience. Now, our company, we have several different avatars and different avenues we attack through different mediums, especially when it comes to Instagram, Facebook, Google pay-per-click, radio advertising. But for YouTube specifically, this was like my brainchild baby, is that I wanted to be very specific. In fact, that's what led me to creating the College Town Agent, because that is a different avatar of who I'm talking to. I'm talking to the person getting into real estate in a college town. Maybe you're a team leader, maybe you're brand new. And I wanted to give you guys a resource, and you're my audience for this. And, I want to hear your questions and connect with you, because that's important to me with this channel. All right, let's move on. Let's keep going. I will trail off all day long. So identify the specific person that you need to influence. We're kind of talking about that right now. Or wait, I'm sorry, I'm on talking point number 4. Determine the reputation that audiences need to have. So your desired reputation should be specific. And I'll tell you a little bit about us in a second. So successful real estate agent is just a vague explanation. I see this all the time. Expert real estate agent, successful real estate agent. Is that what you want to be known as? Or do you want to be known as the condo king? Do you want to be known as, I work with I work with people that move here for the country club. Like, I'm the country club guy. I'm the guy that sells golf course properties. I know them better than anyone. Consider reputations like the agent who explains relocation without sugarcoating it. I mean, I think that's awesome. It's kind of a little bit of a contrarian belief. And it's important that you're not controversial about it. You're contrarian. The person who understands student housing and college town investments, massive category and opportunity there. The listing agent who tells sellers the truth about pricing in a market that we're in today. This is a killer niche if you want to work sellers. Maybe you want to be the team leader who can develop inexperienced agents. You got to talk about that, because that's what I'm known for. I'm known for bringing on brand new agents and training them up to be monsters. The agent who makes complicated transactions understandable. How easy is it to work for you? You can do that through like Google reviews and being intentional about your clients as you work with them and say, I'd love for you to leave me a Google review and speak to how easy the transaction was working with us, and that you would recommend us to your friends and family and anybody relocating here. It's important that you kind of subliminally put in those words. It's like, if I work with a YouTube buyer and I get a Google review, I'm moving to and living in Auburn. And why it was great, because I know that I'm the first person that they're going to meet. I'm the person that introduces someone to the Auburn, Alabama community. I might be number 1 out of 80, 90,000 people that they actually ever talk to in the community. So I don't take that lightly. Maybe you want the professional other agents trust with their referrals. Maybe you want to work your company and other agents. You can do that through like creating content about relocating to the area and inviting reviews, going into Facebook groups and community groups or Discords, and being the go-to resource for agents that have people relocating to your area. This is really big for military communities if you have a military community around your college. So then you want to ask, when would someone have to repeatedly, what would someone have to repeatedly see from me to form that opinion? So that's where you have to reinforce through your content and through your actions, because you cannot simply announce your reputation. You have to provide evidence for it. And that is built through the hard work that you have to do the day-to-day. Like, I have the contrarian belief that you don't need to create more videos. You need to have more conversations. People are like, oh, can I not have to call somebody? I get it. This new generation doesn't love calling people. Well, get freaking good at texting and getting people on the phone, because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter what medium they come from, the client or the consumer. You have to talk to them in person. All right. So the next point is identify the real world actions that create that reputation. Content can communicate a reputation, but your work has to produce the evidence. I've already said it. So if you want to be known for developing agents like me, what do you need to be known for? It's one of the reasons why I created this channel, just to offer more evidence, because I was thinking about it. When I love agents and training, it's one of my, I wouldn't say it's my geniuses, but it's one of my passions. My genius is in lead generation, that initial call, creating relationships, and conversion and presentation. Just so happens to be really good money producing activities. But if you want to develop agents, you need to coach agents consistently. You need to build repeatable training. You have to help people solve real problems. You need to track their development, learn the agents who struggle, and produce actual success stories with those agents. Like for me, I've been able to hire and train dozens of new agents, several of those straight out of the university, and a couple of them have become our local association's rookies of the year, people that are on track to be realtor of the year, people that actually impact our community. That's what I'm known for. If you want to be the college town expert, maybe you're an agent and you're like on a team, you're like, I just want to be an expert. I just want to know something. You need to understand the university calendar. You need to study the student and parent behavior. Super important. Go work your orientations. You need to know the local housing patterns. You got to be able to explain the differentiators. Like for us, we talk about in most cities, you have one season of real estate. In our area, you have 2 seasons of real estate. You have your regular residential market, and then you have your condo market, and they're different timings. Being able to explain that is very, very powerful, and it builds a lot of value with your customers. You need to know investments and rental dynamics. You need to know how to calculate Airbnb, and maybe you don't. So take someone out to lunch that runs a short-term rental company. That would be a simple way of doing that. Maybe you need to know the neighborhoods, the new developments. Maybe you want to focus on high-end new construction in your college town, know the developments, know the zoning, know the neighborhoods, know them in and out, know what it's like to be in the build process with the builders. It's always awesome if you can name drop names and just be in it. Put your heart into it. Maybe you want the relationships between the university and the surrounding city and understand the dynamics that, for me, I understand the dynamics. Auburn University is the anchor tenant. It is the sole heartbeat of the Auburn community. Without Auburn University, Auburn really doesn't exist on the map. And so I talk about that and the influence it has in our community. It's the number one place. It has the most employees in our area by a long shot. So understand that content that you put out, it is the microphone, but it cannot create or manufacture the experience. It must be you must have the experience behind the message. So a personal brand should amplify your work and not become a substitute for doing the work. And that's a quote that I actually did get from Caleb Ralston that I actually love. A personal brand should amplify the work and not become a substitute for doing the work. And that is what I find that a lot of new agents do. They try to mask their business and their activities and busyness by saying, I'm a local expert. Come work with me. They're not talking to anybody, but they're just telling everybody. You're trying to fake it till you hopefully make it. All right. Next is decide whether public content is actually the best path. And I think this is important because when I started in real estate, I'd say I went after public content, but I was pretty intentional about building relationships too. Not every goal requires a public creator. You don't have to be a public creator to be successful in real estate, period. And I think that is a harsh reality for some people to understand because it's tough in today's world. Most people are like, if I'm not posting every day or every other day on Instagram, I'm just not going to be known. Well, that's not totally true. There's a million ways to build a personal brand. You just need to do a little bit of research and you'll find them. You'll find the niches. Like I know very successful agents that have built relationships with their local chamber of commerce where they met business owners and created business networking events that generate a ton of referrals. And that's their personal brand. They're known for that private, sleek, quiet brand that's like, hey, not everybody wants to work with the loudest person on Instagram or TikTok. I want to work with the person who's going to give me that personal touch that's quiet about my business. I don't really care for everyone to know that I moved because maybe you might be ashamed with how much money you make from the consumer side. And they don't want people to know that they're doing really well. They just want to move. They want to grow their family and they just want to get moving. Pretty big if you're working with Gen X. I'd say Gen X is probably a great category to start with if you're there. If your business is primarily built through small groups of attorneys, developers, like I said, high net worth clients, or private referrals, deeper relationships may matter more than the broad exposure. And that's kind of what I've been talking about here. You may receive a better return from calling 5 past clients every day or hosting a monthly investor lunch. Maybe you're writing a very useful email newsletter that's very relevant to those people. It's a very niche topic. Maybe you're building relationships with local employers. That's a great way of doing it. Talking to the directors that hire. Like for us, we do that with several at the university. Maybe you want to be teaching private workshops. If you're trying to grow your real estate team, but you just hate putting out content, maybe you just do it through putting out workshops. Maybe you go through your local MLS and tell them, hey, I want to start hosting these. How do I do that? And start going through that process. Maybe you want to become more involved in the community. Not everybody is so obsessed in real estate with making a ton of money in real estate. Most people do it because they have a passion for real estate. It's a great way to help people. They have a heart for their community. They're very servant-hearted, and I love that. And you can really dive deep and create some super deep relationships with in your local community. Maybe you want to improve your customer experience by having this niche, sleek, select process and touch that you have with each client. Content is powerful, but it has an opportunity cost. Time spent filming, editing, and posting is time that cannot be spent elsewhere. And so it will trap you if you let it. And the question is, can content help? And it probably can. The better question is content the highest value way to reach my desired outcome right now? And that, where are you right now in your business? Are you brand new? You just need to get on the phone. You need to have more conversations, period. There's no better medicine for getting into real estate than to getting into conversations. And when it comes to building your brand, you want to build your brand backwards. You heard me talk about my ideal avatar for living in Auburn and their desired outcome and how I'm going to help them and how I catch them along that journey. You want to use this framework. What outcome do I want from these people? I want them to reach out to me. I want them to schedule a discovery conversation. I can't control whether they hire me or not, but I can put my best foot forward. Who must know and trust me for that to happen? Who is that person? What reputation do I need with those people? I need to be telling stories about my reputation and working with these people and helping people relocate, because we help people relocate. Every single real world actions would earn that reputation. Maybe it's doing home tours of new developments and putting out that content that maybe the developer's agent was too lazy to put out. But here you are being the only one putting it online. And now you've got some great Google SEO juice that's attracting that perfect person. And what content could document, demonstrate, or teach from those actions? So the final distinction is important. Content should do three things. It should document the work that you're doing. It should demonstrate the competence and values of you. And it should teach what your experience has shown you. Very important that you follow those. So for example, my two channels. So I've already talked about, but my Living in Auburn, Alabama channel is designed for consumers considering the move to the area. It answers their questions, their pain points, it addresses their concerns, and it connects them with a local real estate agent versus, take this channel, College Town Agent. College Town Agent has a completely different outcome for you watching this video. This channel is designed for agents and team leaders, right? I want to share what I've learned from building with college interns, developing new agents, and leading a real estate team in a college town. See, two different outcomes and where I want to take people and so this would be a natural segue. If you want to talk about it, you can join my community, the Discord. It's linked in the channel and probably in the comments here. So before you buy another camera, before you build another content calendar, or you promise yourself you're going to post, define the outcome that you want in your content. Decide whose trust you need, what you want to be known for, and what work you need to do to deserve that reputation. So don't build a personal brand just because someone told you to build a personal brand. Please don't do that. But build a reputation that supports and builds the business that you want. You got to build it's like life by design. You may have heard that from someone else before. But if you build a personal brand, if your personal brand worked perfectly over the next 3 years, what opportunity would it lead to? And what would it create for you? Put your answers for that in the comments. I'd love to hear what you want, your 3-year vision to be for your brand. What do you want that outcome to be? And really start thinking backwards on how you want to build your business. And we'll talk through it. Thanks so much. I'll see you guys on the next video.